One of the foundational skills within parkour that we teach within our level 1 curriculum is jumping. Now, basically everybody has jumped before, but there's certain things that we're looking for to build the skill to keep our jumping safe when we're going to an obstacle. Within that basic skill of jumping, one of the first types of jump that we do is called a precision jump. With a precision jump, we are jumping precisely to something. Not only are we looking at a precise landing, keeping our feet together, landing on the edge, but we're looking at giving the precise amount of power, not jumping too far, jumping just the right amount so that I can land and stick the obstacle. We start with doing this on the ground. We like to use these lines here on the floor. As you're jumping, you have to start to understand how far you can or can't jump. You don't want to just go to an obstacle at height, not know whether or not you can jump that distance, and go for it. Eventually, we will get into the landing continuum, which will provide fail-safes that will keep you safe if you do not jump far enough or you jump too far. But more specifically now, looking to understand how much power I have to give to my jump so that I can land precisely and stick it. We practice the squats every warm-up. One of the things we do within that is that we practice keeping our feet together. Again, if my feet are together, it's going to provide a safe landing on my joints. It's protecting my ankles, my knees, and my hoo-has. If my feet are together, I have one strong ankle unit. If my feet are apart, I have two weaker ankle units. If my feet are together, my knees track the way they're supposed to, keeping me nice and safe. If my feet are apart, they can track like this, which is going to be hard on your knees. Also, if my feet are together, as I go to land on something precise like this rail or even this obstacle, if my feet are together, I only have to spot one landing. If my feet are apart, I have to spot two landings, which makes it more complicated. But also, even if they're off just a little bit, I could end up splitting that rail and hitting my hoo-has. Another thing with my feet together is that's doing a better job of guaranteeing that I'm landing at the same time. If I'm landing one foot before the other, even if it's just a little bit before the other foot, I risk compressing my ankle, especially if it's a big jump. I'm taking more of the impact into that one foot, into that one ankle, which can cause compression and does not feel good. Again, if I'm up here at height and I'm jumping to an obstacle, it doesn't do me any good to jump further than the obstacle. Also doesn't do me any good to not jump far enough. Even though I can jump further, I need to be able to control my power. I need to be able to only give it the right amount so that as I jump, I land and I stick it, I do not fall off. I don't want to jump, land on the obstacle, not control that power, and end up falling off. That can be either due to giving it too much power or with not really practicing and strengthening my legs within that squat position to be able to maintain that stick. Even just a simple squat is going to practice and going to strengthen the position of my landing. So with my squat, when I'm practicing my squat, I roll up onto the balls of my feet. I've been in my ankles, my knees, and my hips. I act like I'm catching a ball. My knees should be about 2 fist distances apart. Again, just kind of naturally letting them open. We don't want to force them open, allowing them to track naturally. Balls of my feet, catching that ball. This is causing me to flex the musculature in my upper body, which is going to help me be stronger and hold that stick position. Sticking is landing and not moving, showing control. With that precision jump, we also want to have a precise landing. If I'm sticking a jump, I'm landing on the edge. If I land on the edge, not only does this keep me from slipping out, but it also allows me to bend my ankle to start to absorb that landing. If I'm landing on top of an obstacle and sticking it, this is a closed joint. I'm unable to bend my ankle joint, which means all of the impact of that jump starts to come into my knee, which can be hard on the knees. We're looking for a more skillful landing of being able to land on the edge, start to bend and absorb in that ankle as I move to my knee, as I move to my hip, and land in that stick position. We will get more into the landing position when we go into the landing continuum class. But if you're able to start to practice landing with your feet together on the edge, ball of the foot, where you're able to control it and be more skillful and more safe on your landings when you're practicing your jumping, start to do that. With that precision jump, again, I'm jumping and landing on something precise, looking to keep my feet together the whole time. If I start with my feet together, it's much easier to end with them together. Also, looking to control my stick, not to fall forward, not to fall backward. Even on the ground, we're looking to build these good skills so that when we go to jumping at height, it comes more second nature, more naturally. Everybody knows how to jump. You're loading your legs, you're loading your arms behind you, preparing to throw them forward as you jump, looking to land precisely where you want to. Right now, we're gonna choose to land on this black line. I'm gonna jump, land in that squat stick position with my feet together without falling forward or backwards. With this jump, I'm giving it the precise amount of power. Not too much, not enough. Again, landing, sticking, being in control. So often what we see is that people don't start with their feet together. They will jump and separate their feet. If I want more power, jumping off of 2 feet is more powerful than jumping off of 1. Mentally, it seems easier because I'm getting closer to where I'm trying to go because that foot is already there. But again, that risks my feet being split, not getting back together, so that if I'm landing on something precise like a rail, there's that risk of ankle compression or splitting the obstacle. But also I'm not having as much power. So keeping my feet together the whole time, almost pretending like I have invisible duct tape, and I'm duct taping my feet together the whole time. Loading, throwing, sticking. Avoiding giving it too much power and falling forward onto one foot, or jumping, trying to get to the obstacle, not having enough power, reaching, and then falling backwards. One of the things I talk about with the kids is if you cannot jump from the red line to the black line, but the goal is to land on the black line, you need to go ahead and scoot forward. Figure out where you need to jump from so that you can give it the power you know you can give so that you can land precisely on that black line. Again, it doesn't do me any good to jump further. Looking to develop that skill of that precise landing, which includes knowing whether or not you can jump that far, knowing how much power to give, and then landing precisely on that edge, feet together, absorbing, bending those knees, and sticking. After the precision jump, we want to start to look at what's called the plyo. The plyo is that second jump. As soon as I land, I'm immediately doing another jump. The key with this is my arm position, as well as treating my first landing more like a second loading for that next jump. Feet are together. I'm going to jump, plyo, stick. The important piece being the position of the arms. When I stick my landing, my arms are in front of me. When I jump, my arms are behind me. So since my plyo is a loading for that second jump, I want to make sure that before I land, my arms are already behind me so that I can immediately go into that next jump. The key with the plyo is maintaining the momentum of that first jump. If I do a good job of maintaining the momentum from that first jump into the plyo should be able to be a further jump than that first jump. Again, that arm position being important, so as I jump, I'm already have my arms behind me loaded, ready to go into that next jump. Again, my legs aren't just landing, they're loading to immediately spring into that second jump. I'm going to jump to the small L and immediately plyo to the next pillar. Jump, plyo, stick. It's one smooth movement. I don't want to jump, stop, reload, and then jump again. That would be two different movements. This is two jumps that is one smooth movement. We want to avoid hesitation. That makes the second jump harder, but it also slows things down. Again, we're trying to maintain momentum. The plyo is the first introduction in maintaining the momentum within a jump sequence. Basic, feet together, 2 feet to 2 feet. Biggest thing, the arms, making sure they're behind. With the arm loading, it's more efficient to do more like a swim movement. So as I do that first jump, I carry through and let my arms load behind. It's not as efficient to jump, stop, and then put behind you. Maintaining that efficiency of movement within the arms with that swimming motion. The third jump we want to talk about is the running jump. With the running jump, we're now taking off of one leg, but still landing on two. Anytime we do a landing where we're wanting to stick or coming down from something, we want to make sure we're landing on 2 feet. Landing on 2 feet is always safer, especially when we're sticking it or coming down from a bigger landing. With that running jump, we're taking off of 1 foot, landing on 2. This becomes more complicated, more complex, because now not only am I splitting my feet and having to get them back together precisely so that I'm safe with that landing, but I'm also adding more momentum that I have to control into that stick. If I'm jumping to this rail and I split my feet and I don't get them back together precisely in time, bad things can happen. Practicing that landing on the ground, maintaining control, sticking my landing. With that running jump, as I approach the launch pad, thinking that I'm actually using this to launch off of. I don't want to jump to it, come down on it, and then jump. I want to be on my way up as I take off into my jump. Driving this knee, other leg joining, bringing my feet together, and then extending my legs, reaching out and grabbing the ground. It's a running jump, so I am running into it. Taking off 1, landing on 2, sticking my landing. As I approach, I'm becoming athletic as I dip down, take off 1, land on 2, stick my landing. Biggest thing we're looking for is not distance. You can jump as far as you want, but if you can't control your landing, things aren't going to end well. We want to be able to find a distance that you can jump and be in control. From there, you build to a bigger jump as you get more comfortable controlling and being comfortable with your landing. With all of our landings, we want to make sure our feet are out in front of us, but especially with the running jump, because I have more momentum to control. If my feet are out in front of me, when I land, by the time I bend my knees and get into my squat position, I'm able to stop myself with my chest over top. If I'm landing here and then start to bend my knees, my chest is already too far forward and it's going to be harder for me to stick my landing. Pulling back the 3 jumps we talked about, the precision jump. We want to progress jumping on the ground where it's nice and safe, building that skill so that if we do mess up, we're still safe, to then moving up to at height, jumping to something more precise, but still having the safety of if I don't jump far enough or if I fall back, I'm not falling too far. 2 feet to 2 feet, jumping, landing on that edge, sticking it, to then moving to jumping at height. With this, if I jump too far, I know I'm fine because there's plenty of box to jump on. So starting with something that I know I can jump the distance, if I'm not gonna land on the edge, at least I know I'm still gonna be safe. Progressing then to jumping to something where if I jump too far, there's more risk. So I have to really start to be able to jump more precisely. Jumping to a more precise obstacle, and eventually moving to jumping to more precise like a rail. We then move to the plyo, which we mentioned the important pieces are the arms, and that first landing being an actual loading within the legs. Whenever you practice a squat, one of the things I talk about with the kids is not just collapsing, but actually grabbing the ground with my toes and actively pulling my butt to my heels. Just like when I'm loading for that plyo, I'm jumping, grabbing the ground, actively loading as my arms swim behind me so that as soon as I land, I'm immediately ready to explode into that second jump. We then moved into that running jump, which again is a little more complex because now I'm splitting my legs, but I'm also adding momentum into it so that I have more momentum I have to control within that stick. Separating those legs, getting them back precisely where I want them. So just in case I'm landing on something very precise like a rail, I'm still gonna be safe. And then being able to control that stick with that added momentum. Looking to have my feet out in front of me so that by the time I absorb, my chest is over top and not too far out in front of me where I would fall forward.